folks, and welcome to their Sunday Morning Samoflange. I'm Matt.
And I'm back! Mikey in the house.
All right, so this is a topic that I'm going to get straight to it because we got a lot to talk about here. And I believe I've had this conversation with people before, and I may have even mentioned some of these in live streams before, but I want to do a podcast on, in today's movie world, it's all about doing the reboot of the old TV show, The Fall Guy, the A-Team, the whatnot. And there's a right way to do this and a wrong way. You know, they try to bring back Magnum P.I. They try to bring back MacGyver. And there's ways I think you can do it that would be successful, like a Top Gun 2. Which if you would have said, hey, Matt, do we need a Top Gun 2? I'd have said no. And after watching it, I said, yes.
Yeah, it was done to perfection.
Yeah.
It was the movie version of what a reboot needed to be, whereas Cobra Kai, it was the TV version of what a reboot needed to be. Blend the old with the new, make it a story where you care about both sides, it makes sense, and...
But yet, once again, Hollywood just misses the punt here every time they go to kick.
I mean, there are a lot of... stinkers and just a couple exceptions to the rule.
So not only have I called what sequels I'm gonna come up with and give you good stories of, I've given them names. I've given these movies
you gave
titles.
them names. Okay.
I gave these movies titles
so
to
let's be really clear about what we're doing here, right?
Yes.
We're not making a top 5, but we do have 5 apiece. Now, these are going to be movies, TV shows, entities, something from the 80s that we would like to see or think that there's enough room there or something that could be interesting or funny to bring back, and we would like to see the story continue in a good way, like a Cobra Kai or Top Gun.
For a sequel, yes.
Right.
Not in any order, but I will give some that I believe I've spoken about in the past. 2 or 3. Now, here's the thing. This is kind of weird, but will there be crossover?
I'm going to say 1.
I'll say 2.
But I don't know which one.
Because I think there will be crossover. But here we go. This is in no order,
right? By the way.
But there needs to be a sequel to The Last Starfighter.
Okay, that is not on my list.
Called The Last Starfighters.
Okay.
We got to add the S in there.
Okay, I like it.
Kid... he's playing the Xbox or whatever, the console game, beats the game on its toughest level, completes his little whatever, beats the thing. He's streaming it too, because it's all about Twitch streaming.
Yep.
And it does the impossible. First person to get it, he's like, yes, celebrating at home. And then suddenly, that's when they come to recruit him, because he reached the high level.
Okay.
And you're thinking, oh, this is like this. But when they recruit him, they find out that his dad is the leader of Star Command now. He runs it. He sent his unborn son to Earth to hide him from the new evil that is out there who is trying to get at his son.
You've thought this
and
through.
He doesn't think that he can protect his son, so he puts him on Earth and doesn't reveal not even his son knows who he is. But his mother knows. She's down there, so she calls when she finds out he's up there, and then he realizes, you idiot, you recruited my son. You can't have my son. But then the son wants to stay because he's always wanted to know his dad.
Okay.
Who his mom was trying to hide him from, not because his mom didn't hate the dad. She just didn't want her son getting involved with all this because they wanted to protect their son.
Right.
But he can be a pilot. He's shown a lot of the controls are just like the controls on his little game. And,
right.
And so his old friend, I can't remember the alien, kind of puts his hand and goes, you should let your son do it. So his son decides to lead the Armada, and they are the last squad, the last Starfighters.
Okay. So
going up against
who plays the son?
I'm terrible at this.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, sure. Timothy Lachey is hot right now.
Oh yeah, Timothy Chalamet. Okay.
Chalamet, whatever.
Depends what kind of movie you want here. You want an artsy movie?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not good with actors.
Okay.
So you got me on that one. But either way, Andrew Garfield.
There you go.
Either
Or the
way,
kids
though,
from Cobra Kai.
Either way, though, that's my idea. All right, go ahead.
I like that. Okay, man, this is really good. You're setting the bar high. Mine are in no particular order, just like yours. So I'm going to start off. I would love to see a sequel to Footloose. Now, hear me out, okay?
Okay, I'm hearing you out on this one.
Okay, so this is what I was thinking. Now, they did make a reboot. They rebooted it, but I'm not even counting that nonsense.
I never even watched it.
It's not good. So
they usually aren't.
Yeah. So
hence the list.
What I'm looking at is not necessarily like Cobra Kai and Top Gun, where the passage of time has happened in real life. For what I would be looking for Footloose is I would love to see what happens after the prom and after the dance, right? I want to know what happens in that town. Does John Lithgow's character like just let go of his grip after that night? Does he go back with trying to kick, those characters out of town? Does he let his daughter date Kevin Bacon? Has Kevin Bacon taken over, and now does the pastor allow dancing? Does he have to then fight the school board? I don't know why this is interesting to me. I just want to know what happens after this happily ever after, right? Does he graduate? Does he become a dance teacher? Does he become a teacher himself? But I don't want to know now, 30 years later. I want to know right after. I want this to pick up Karate Kid Part 2 picks up, where they just got finished dancing at the prom, and Lithgow's out there in the parking lot, all right, you had your fun, now one night only, and snatches his daughter by the arm and goes home. So I want to see, because we all think, oh, happily ever after, right?
Yeah.
You sing the Footloose song and you're done.
Yeah.
No, because Lithgow's still out there.
Wow.
And if anybody's seen Dexter season 4,
CGI
which I know you have, then
yes. Yes.
Then Lithgow means business.
Oh man, Trinity style, baby.
Yeah. So I just am kind of curious. A lot of mine are going to be deconstructing this happily ever after.
I like that.
To see what happens after.
Okay, there you go. You're right, because just because there's a dance at the end doesn't mean everything's fine and dandy.
That's right.
Maybe people put baby back in that corner.
Oh, maybe they did.
After the dirty was done on the floor.
You never know.
I
thought about Dirty Dancing. It's not on my list just because that was, when you really think about that movie, if you just give me just 1 second to go off on a tangent. It's a fun movie, but he really was this older guy, and she really was this 15-year-old supposed to be. So, it's kind of rapey. And after their little vacation for the their little dance at the end, that's Jerry Orbach too. You don't mess with him. He probably snatched up John Eaton and was like, ugh.
She brought a watermelon. Did I tell you that's Megan's favorite line?
No.
I brought a watermelon. She said that is her favorite line.
Dang, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's
but
deep cut.
Who would say that?
I know.
Besides Baby in a Corner, but she always I brought a watermelon. She thought that was so funny.
It's out of nowhere.
It is out of nowhere. Folks, Neverending Story is coming back in theaters in July, and I can't wait to watch it on the big screen. And 2 is okay. They stay true to the books more. It's a little rough around the edges, but it still has some of that imagination, where 3 is a disaster.
Dog shit.
So we can't have it in there. Mm-hmm. So Neverending Story, the new chapter. Not the next, the new. Everything has to be new. It's a nice reboot name. All right. Kid is, in a same thing, running from bullies, goes to a bookstore. The old man's cracking on him you kids today, y'all don't read books no more. He's like, they're all about the video games, the e-book, the audio book. That's not a book. That's listening to a book. That's not reading a book. Fill in the bank. He's kind of a crazy librarian. But he is going out of business, man. Because, he's just mad because his business is just maybe boom. And that's what the kid thinks. But he hears the call of the Neverending Story, which is right there. And just like Sebastian years ago, he takes it. Okay, opens up the book. There is a new adventure in Fantasia with all your favorites. And maybe, and to explain why Atreyu and the princess always look different, is about you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. We appear different to any child who reads the story, and there you go. Then we've decided why everyone looks different.
That works
because it is in your imagination. Yeah. We look different to every kid, and so they have this wonderful adventure with some old and some new characters, And at the end, you're thinking, well, how does this tie in? Well, the luck dragon appears to him at the end as he's returning the book to the library. He goes, "Good choice," and then he turns, he goes, "Hello, Sebastian." And the old man in the library, who runs the bookstore, is the young boy.
Nice.
And he says, "Hello, Valcor. How's everyone? How's it?"
Yes.
And maybe he goes, "Hey, I know I'm a little old, but would you mind if?" And then it flashes back to him as a kid, old Noah, whatever, and we can CGI at the end, their faces.
Right. Can we bring the dog back?
And have him looking at the original.
Or the horse, I meant. Excuse me.
Atreyu, everyone. Arjax,
Yeah.
Artax, everyone comes back, but from his vision. So it's the original actors who he's seeing. While at the same time, the boy's seeing the other actors, and they're seeing all these. And so Sebastian got to go on a new adventure, with his friend, with a new friend who now enjoys the world of Fantasia.
Okay.
And I mean, I just think that you just tie it up at the end there.
Right.
There's the connection that you didn't see coming.
Right.
There's the Lego movie twist at the end that you're like, oh, wait a minute. This is a serious. Mm-hmm. This movie has a great ending, like the Lego movie.
Oh yeah, good.
I heard it was great. I was like, okay, whatever. Okay, it's fun. Oh,
the ending makes that movie.
Oh, and the ending makes that movie a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So I think that was what you do. You put a little bow on it.
Yeah.
Put it to bed.
Put a little stank on it.
Put a little stank on it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
New chapter. Yeah. You did some Donatello action from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah.
Best quote ever.
So I'm going to piggyback real quick off of that.
Okay.
Because my next one is very, very similar.
Okay.
And it is The Princess Bride.
Ooh, now, how do you make a sequel? I'm interested.
So here's the deal, right? So that is a special movie. If you watch that movie today, it's the innocence behind it, the old school fantasy behind it, the grandfather and then the sick kid. You feel that movie. You were that kid.
It vomits movie magic.
It does. That's a great way of putting it. Like, it is just, it's cheeky and funny and serious, and it's old
beautiful,
school, just like adventure,
it's what it's supposed
family
to be.
movie, like everything about it. So the sequel, I didn't put 100%.
Oh, that's tough to touch a classic there.
Right. Well, I'm not trying to mess it up, right? It's similar to what you just said, right? It is Fred Savage as a old man telling a story to his son or grandson, probably his grandson, right?
Because didn't the grandpa say that
Right.
Oh!
So he keeps that going.
The cycle keeps going.
Right. And it is a different story, right? But it's in the same world. So
That's fair.
So some of the characters that are still alive, or some of the actors that are still alive, because I think Carrie Elways, didn't he just pass away a couple years ago?
Carrie Elways was still alive.
Is he still alive?
I thought he was.
I could, but I mean, obviously,
I know
Andre's dead. Obviously.
Andre's dead. Vicini died in the film.
Yeah.
But the Hispanic guy's still alive.
Okay, yeah.
He still does acting.
Most of those people, right? You can have, because that's Manny Patinkin, you get Christopher Guest, Sarandon, Billy Crystal, Carol Kane, if Elways.
He's still alive. He's 61 years old.
Okay, Elways, Princess Buttercup, Robin Wright. Like, so just, they're not in the movie, like they're not the stars of the movie, right? But they're in that same world. So he's reading another adventure, right? Almost kind of like, what is it, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? I guess they all have the same main characters, but there's something like that to where it's like the stories are so different.
I like it.
So he's telling a different story. They're breaking the fourth wall, not the fourth wall, but they come back and forth and go back into the story just like they do in the original. But then they run across Buttercup. They run across God, what is his name? What is Elways' name? I can't think of his name.
Wesley.
Yeah, Wesley. Yeah. So they kind of run across them. Maybe they're part of the adventure for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they go
They made their
on.
cameos.
Right. And then it's nothing fancy, but it's kind of structured the same. This idea to me would run. Did you watch 8-Bit Christmas? We talked about that, right?
Yes. Great.
Just like that. Just how 8-Bit Christmas is just a Christmas story for us, for a new generation. This is kind of the same thing. We're not trying to trick anybody. We're not trying to have a twist ending. We're just wanting to have a good family, fun adventure, but ties them in.
Now I regret not telling you this earlier. Do you know that Megan did the show, Princess Bride?
Yeah, like recently, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you hear what they did?
Mm-mm.
During one of the Vincini clips where they're having the battle of wits, Vincini has this long dialogue. He's going, and then the actor stops, and he just pauses, and they look at each other, and they kind of look around. I'm going, oh no, he forgot his next line. And then the spotlight goes over to the little boy with the grandfather reading over in the corner. He goes, Grandpa, wake up. Huh? Oh, where was I? Oh, yes. And he reads it again, and then the scene goes on. I was like, that's brilliant.
That's really cool.
They should have put that in the movie. Guess what? It's a catch-22 because the kid did forget his line. And so Megan wrote that scene in there. If ever they forget his line, it's because Grandpa fell asleep and the story had to stop.
Oh, that's really brilliant.
And it's so smart because it covered up the mistake. And I thought, because at first I thought, oh, he goofed a line. Then I thought, oh my gosh, no, that was part of the show. No.
Now that's neat.
He goofed a line.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And to be honest, that's going to be in your sequel.
Yeah, we'll put that in the
whole thing where they pause and look around at each other for a minute in between lines. And then Grandpa. Oh, I'm so sorry. And then reads again.
Right.
That's just good stuff.
Now, I do want to say this, right?
Go ahead.
This doesn't have anything specifically to do with The Princess Bride, but I just need to say this right now for everybody that's listening. I pray to dear God and baby Jesus above that nobody touches any of the movies that we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Don't do any of this.
Don't attempt this.
Don't
Hollywood,
do any of this.
Do it. You're
like don't
enough.
touch these things that are so precious. Don't remake The Princess Bride. Don't make a sequel to it. Nothing.
Don't even touch the Neverending Story. Please don't do it.
Just don't do it. Just
do
leave things just as
unless the Cobra Kai guys are available or the Top Gun 2 guys are available.
Yeah.
I don't trust nobody.
Unless Tom Cruise plays Falcor.
Yeah.
Then,
Okay, so I said this when I did my last Ghostbuster review for Frozen Empire. It's okay, but it could have been better. And I feel those movies could have been great better. So here it is, Ghostbusters, Inc. I know we got to make room for the new, but good gravy. People come to watch the original Ghostbusters. Why can't you put them together? And they can definitely carry the film. Even halfway, we'll do 50-50. So Ray has a big idea. He needs Ernie's money to do it, but they want to branch out and have Ghostbusters, Inc. all over the nation, baby, because there's ghosts everywhere. So they're going about this plan. Well, meanwhile, there is, trouble a-brewing, not in just New York, but in some far-flung, maybe in one of the smaller cities of New York or whatever, and it's the guy from Ghostbusters 2. Because all the ghosts escaped, and we never found out about... That was the only callback they didn't really do was a Ghostbusters 2 callback. So maybe he comes back, just like, who was it? Came back for the first reboot, the Gozer or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, something similar to that. Didn't he come back in the Ghostbusters Afterlife?
I don't remember.
I can't remember. But either way, though, it would be fun to have that callback. But put the older guys... They can lead a movie. They can lead a movie.
Of course they can.
Have them share the lead, 50-50 still. I love Paul Rudd. I like the new crew. They're fine. But what Frozen Empire really needed was more than a day filming with the original crew.
Right.
To get all their shots and then wrap it.
Right.
You really want to hear that because they've still got their timing. They've still got their humor.
Right.
And they've still got the mojo that they can work together.
But they don't have Harold Ramis, which does suck.
It does suck, but I think you can get around that because Bill Murray is just he's gold.
Right.
Dan Aykroyd can still do Raymond, but they just give him those characters, give them those things. Maybe they're going on a separate adventure where maybe not even forming a band. Maybe they're just trying to get the idea, but they're also showing that they can run themselves and give them a B storyline where they're just trying to chase down one little ghost, and they can't because they're so old and tired all the time. Even that would be great.
Right.
It's like when the new Spider-Man movie, that last Spider-Man movie came out, I swear, I told Megan when we got out of the theater, they could have had just Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, all meet up when the worlds collided. Both Spider-Man just jumped out in front of him and Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange goes, all three of you, get in the kitchen and stay there until I fix this. And then the rest of the movie is the three Spider-Mans having coffee and talking.
Right.
That would have been the best Marvel movie in the world to me. Because
those were the best scenes.
Those were the best scenes. And to be honest, just talk about anything. And have them ad-lib.
Doesn't matter.
I just would have loved that entire... They didn't even... Saved them a ton in budget and it probably would have been better than the movie. And I love Spider-Man 3, the newest Spider-Man, whatever it was, home, whatever. But just do that. That'd have been perfect. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was okay. Now we're getting good. We're getting to the good stuff.
Yeah, I've got my top two.
I really like my top two a lot. This one is not much of an idea. It may not even be a good idea. And once again, this nobody ever do anything like this, and you can't because John Hughes has passed away. But I would love it if there was like a sequel to The Breakfast Club, right? And it was made in such a way where like all 5 of those characters ended up coming back to like a reunion, and they. So I don't know what the plot would be. Like maybe they accidentally get locked into like a room, or they get locked into something together.
It's a high school reunion.
Yeah, it's a high school reunion. So that's what I'm talking about. They come back to a high school reunion.
They go back to the old library they spent so much time in, but unfortunately the party closes.
Right.
The party wraps. The janitor locks them in.
Right, or something, and they have to spend overnight there, or something along those lines.
Or they decide to. Yeah. Like old times.
Yeah, it could be either or, because that may not be good enough, right? Maybe the story is that they do meet up on purpose. They go to somebody's house. But I would just like to see those 5 characters, and where they are today and how they've changed. Because those 5 characters, that was almost next year will be 40 years, right? So those, they're all still alive, so they're all kind of like 60, ish or whatever. I would love to see those characters, because they were heavy stereotypes at that time. You had the jock, you had the bad kid, you had the pretty girl, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to see like what their characters are now, what their lives have been, if they have any kids of their own, and what stereotypes those kids are. But without like the writing of John Hughes, I don't think that you could capture those characters. But those are characters that I love.
It's funny you mentioned John Hughes, because for a minute I thought we had our first crossover.
Oh, Uncle Buck?
Ferris Bueller 2, but instead call it Cameron's Day Off.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay.
This was a John Hughes original idea.
Okay.
When when they wanted him to write a sequel to Ferris Bueller, he tried. Ferris Bueller in college taking a day off. But he felt like it was the same movie, didn't want to make it right, so stopped, axed the whole thing. And according to Matthew Broderick, jokingly told him and Alan Ruck, if we did one, we'd have to wait 40 years later, when y'all are older, and have Matthew Broderick older, getting on in the years. It's the 9-to-5 drag, and he's finding he's a lot like his dad now, and he doesn't like what he's become. Cameron has checked himself in early to an old folks home because it's Cameron. So he decides to take a day off work. Mm-hmm. So just like Ferris Bueller, he takes the day off. He gets her to take her day off, even though she doesn't want to. She has important meetings, but he gets her off. And then they break Cameron out of the old folks' home and convince him he's still got one more. But Cameron's all, my heart, my heart, my heart. They say they can't do anything. He's like, whatever. And they have this great day, this one just perfect day of all the crazy stuff that they're doing. Of course, the boss is trying to fire Ferris and whatnot. And everyone's, it's the same kind of chase, but it's a little bit different. And at the end, Cameron dies.
Nice.
And his on the drive back.
I like that.
Before they bring him back, but Cameron had a great day. He thanks Ferris, closes his eyes, and just like oh no, I had this perfect setup. Christian Slater and
Untamed Heart
passes away in the car.
Heart.
Yeah, did an Untamed Heart connection there.
Nice.
But Cameron's Day Off. And it has a double meaning at the end.
Yeah.
So there it is.
I love that. Okay, so this is my favorite one of the ones that I have on my list.
That was one of my favorite ones, but I just threw it in because you said John Hughes.
There's only 2 left.
Go for it.
But this, what I'm about to say, is my favorite one, but I'm going to go ahead and say this one now because you just said what you said. I also have Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
You win.
Yes. Okay.
You win.
So here's my take on it, right?
Go ahead. I'm listening. I love it.
The name of the movie is
Go ahead.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right?
Okay.
And it is Matthew Broderick.
Yes.
He is older. That's the same. He's married.
Yes.
He has a son, a junior. His son's name is Ferris Bueller's Ferris as well. Okay.
Okay.
So the movie runs as both of them, the young one skips school, the old one skips work. And they keep running into each other out and about, but they keep trying to hide from each other. They don't see each other.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because the son doesn't want his dad to know that he's
skipping
skipping
school, and the dad doesn't want to know that he's skipping out.
Right, and so Cameron and Sloan are still there with him, and then he's got his buddy. So it's kind of 3 and 3. But
that's a better idea.
It's all the little thing because you get to see a little bit of the young, a little bit of the old. Yeah, and so
there's a B story there.
Yeah, there has to be a B story, some love story, and at some point their path. I can't figure out if I want their paths to cross, in a heartwarming way, or maybe the whole paths don't cross. But there's something where
Sloan
the father and the son.
If your dad finds out you were out, what are you doing at, Mom? Shut up. And she's trying to hide, but maybe they find out in the end.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like this concept of
they're both trying to get home.
Yeah, exactly.
And beat the other one.
No, exactly. Right. Yeah. They're both trying to get home, and like one of them comes in the front door, the other one comes in the back door, or something. Like it's but both of them concurrently at the same time, and so maybe they see each other like at a parade or something, and they know that it's them, and they share something or not. I don't know, like whatever, like the kind of heartwarming.
I know what it is.
Okay.
I know what it is. They both go to the same Cubs game. They're on different sides of the field.
Okay.
But Cubs game, the Cubs have, it's keychain day or whatever, and so they loop the keychain to their belt loops. Well, anyway, they forget that they still have them on their belt loops, and they see each other with the keychains on, and they know.
Or they take the keychain and they both put them on the thing, and they clink clink, and they kind of look at each other.
And they both realize they've had a day off.
Yeah. And then they both are like, one of them's like, Mom, the other one's like, Sloan, or something. Like,
oh, that's after the credits, he comes out, what are you still doing here? Dad? What? It's like 3 a.m. Who are you talking to? I was just talking to.
Yeah.
Okay. What? And then he kind of goes, go to bed, Dad, go to bed. And then the kids.
Yeah, then the kid does,
You too. And then it goes, there you go. So they share that the first ever stinger. I didn't know that.
Was it really?
Yes, it was.
Oh, I like that.
From what I understand, the first ever scene after the credits.
I like that.
Yeah.
See, now that's something, if done properly, I would love to see.
I would love to see if you do it properly. I tell you what, if Matthew Broderick and Alan Ruck have full script approval, I am for this being made.
But it has to be somebody that understands
You have to have some understudy who, I'm sure there's some
maybe Chris Columbus, because Chris Columbus worked with him a lot. And I don't know Chris Columbus is a writer, but he directed.
I would accept it.
Home Alone.
As a director, I want the director in charge there too. So there you go.
Columbus has to direct it.
Columbus has to direct it.
How cool would that be?
That'd be awesome. Hollywood, please don't do this.
Don't do it. Don't.
It
would not be cool.
Don't do it.
I don't care if me and Matt actually become millionaires because of this idea. Yeah. Like, I'd rather just stay broke. Don't do it.
We have no faith in you. All right. My number 1 now is Highlander: The Return. Now, hold on.
Okay.
They killed off Connor McLeod. I got it, but Duncan's still around, and even though he's 90s, the series continues on. This is a long-running legacy series here, like Ghostbusters has been, but it started in the 80s. So, in this one, the game, Duncan, why is everyone aged? Well, Duncan and them all got together and fought on holy ground on purpose to end the game. The game, because they broke a sacred rule, all of them did. They put a break on the game, and as long as they agree not to do something, whatever they undid, no one does undo it, then they can all live normal lives now and all age, and they're fine doing that. But of course, there's one person who's not of that old school pact who finds out that he is also an immortal, and one that they didn't catch, one the watchers just didn't realize and let him in on the rules. Or maybe he found out the rules too late, and he's out there to break the, start the game up again. Duncan has a kid, of course, this time, but then gets, everyone gets their breath back, and a few of the classics are getting their heads chopped off. Duncan almost dies, realizes there's this gang of immortals trying to start the game back and rig it for this one person to share, because they want to be kings, the princes of the universe. They're going to be princes of the universe. They're going to be the rulers. They don't want they just want the immortality that goes with it. They want that back, and they want to destroy the old realm so they can rule. But in reality, there can be only one, and that's the secret. The main villain really wants to kill all his people to kill them, and then he'll kill them and rule. Dang. So it's a little bit darker there, but it brings all the classics back. Then you can reboot it however you want with a new kid, Duncan, older age, can be Duncan for a good 10 years later and look the same as he is now and still be. I mean, the guy looks pretty young still, but he's aged a bit, of course. So you could that's how you could write that in and just kind of kickstart this series that has been kind of on pause for. Please, Hollywood, do not do this. But it's been on pause for so long. I want there to be more Highlander, but I don't want Hollywood to do it.
Exactly.
That's so sad to say. I
you.
want there to be more Hollywood, but I don't want anyone to do it.
Yeah.
That's sad. It's sad that we have to say that.
Just don't do it.
All right, number one.
Okay, my number one, or the last one that I have,
or the last one. These aren't order. We should say
is Driving Miss Daisy. No, it's not. You drive yourself, woman.
Wow.
No, it's not. This one I think is another one of these ones where like I would love to just see the character and see what happens, and it would be a sequel to the movie Big. Now, Big is one of the most heartwarming movies I've ever seen in my life. It's so near and dear to my heart. And if you remember the last scene, when he's an adult and he's talking with the woman and, she drops him off and everything. And then as he's walking down the road, he turns back into the little kid and looks back at her,
Yeah.
So, like, I would just be very curious. Josh Baskin is the character's name. I'd be so curious as to, like, what he does and how he grows up. Like, does he take, any of that? Because the movie is about his like childlike innocence and his wonder and how that works in an adult world because adults are serious and stuffy and mean. So like, does he go back to being a kid? Does he take some of that serious stuffiness into his world? Does he use that to his advantage?
You call it small and you reverse. Maybe he goes back to being a kid because he misses his childhood. It was a lot of fun, but he realizes those days are past, and he should be living in the present.
Yeah, something.
So it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, like he thought he wanted to go back, but then he realized, like, hey, I was
so
in
many
love with this
people want
woman.
to go back to the good old days, but realize I'm living my good days now.
Yeah.
These days were nice, but they're not the same. I'm not capturing.
Right.
You can't recapture that. Youth is special that first time.
Yeah.
You can't recapture that. That'd be a good lesson.
It's just a lot of like interesting things there. It's very existential, and I love those questions of, that you only get one time in that life. I mean, at that part in your life, and really when you look at everybody's life, you only get one time in every part of your life. But your young stages are the ones that you largely remember because you don't have responsibility.
Yeah.
And it tends to be a little bit easier for most people, notwithstanding any type of trauma or tragedy in people's lives. But it's usually a special time for people. I mean, hell, it's why we talk about all this stuff. It's all this stuff we talk about is because we love our childhoods. We love what we grew up with, watching and playing and that sort of stuff. So just that interesting concept of, he had a taste of what that's like, and he was successful at it. So what does he do when he takes that back home? Now I will say,
I love that.
Kind of branching off from that movie, there was an example of what Hollywood can do with an idea in regards to that movie, and I think that they did it well because they made about 20 years ago a movie that is a guilty pleasure of mine, 13 going on 30. Mm-hmm. And it was basically Big, It was
true.
It was a girl that was grown up and then comes back, right? But they didn't market it like Big 2. They didn't market it as a female Big. It was its own thing, even though it was the same story, and it was very successful. And I still love that movie to this day. It's very cute. It's got good writing. It's it's got good actor. The young Mark Ruffalo and Jennifer Garner. And so there's these people that make these movies, and for example, one of my favorite action movies of all time is Point Break. I don't think you get hardly any better than Point Break, right?
Goodness gracious, that's a good movie.
Well, they remade that, 8 some years ago, whatever, and it's the biggest garbage ever.
I didn't even watch it.
The thing is the movie's not really that good. I'm not defending the movie at all, but the movie had potential to be better if it wasn't called Point Break. They could have just, switched up a couple of things and just made it about like, these bank robbers, and they didn't have to have like a surfer dude infiltrate bank robbers because he's an FBI agent. They could have done something a little bit different. So I think that it's a good lesson that you could take the same. Now, some of the stuff we're talking about is very specific, obviously,
Right.
with specific characters. But you could take a premise, you could take a movie that's been done, and if it's done with care and right, and and you're not getting in another lane or trying to compare something, because when it comes to nostalgia is a formidable foe, and it's going to knock out many competition.
You got to handle it with respect,
Right.
And you got to go in knowing I'm not going to make something better.
Right.
But as long as I can tip my hat and respectfully honor the past, you can get like Top Gun 2 felt like it was they're like, where are they now? Which is what we want to know. But I even felt like, wait a minute, is this Top Gun 3? Did I miss 2? I felt like I missed a secret, because they had these characters that felt well established.
Sure.
But we had never seen before.
Yeah, if Top Gun came out in 85 or 86, I think 86,
Yeah.
then, and that came out, 30 years later, whatever, more than 30 years later.
I felt like there was a...
Yeah, what happened around 2000?
Yeah, I know, 2005. What happened?
Yeah.
I want to know the 15 years in between. What there was a movie. I really felt that way. And that's how you make a good movie.
Yeah, so another thing I'll say real quick, too, one of my favorite movies ever. And I don't say that very often when it comes to new or newish movies, right? But one of my absolute favorite movies I've ever seen in my life, I think they did it absolutely wonderful, was Mad Max Fury Road, 2015.
That was such a beautiful
We have
movie.
talked about that numerous times on this podcast, right? So I'm not going to go down the Fury Road again of talking about that, but I love it so much. That was the exact right way. Now, luckily enough, it was the creator, the same writer, the same director. But
that's who should do those movies.
Right, but he took his world and he did push it in a different direction. That whenever you see the preview and you see, man, they're making a Mad Max movie, like 20-something years later, whatever, 30 years later, what would that even be like? And then whenever you see it, it's one of the most astonishing things I've ever seen in my life. So just a couple of nights ago, we go see Furiosa. And it is, in my opinion, every bit as good as Fury Road without comparing it to Fury Road.
Got it.
Because
I've heard. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Fury Road is better, but you can't beat Fury Road.
Yeah, you can't beat Fury Road.
So you can just be good.
Yeah, but you don't compare it, right?
Yeah.
It's one of these things where I don't see how they made this movie look and feel the exact same, but it looks and feels the exact same. And what it does for Fury Road is it makes Fury Road a better movie. Like, it adds to the lore. You understand Furiosa's character more. She's good. Chris Hemsworth is really good. They do a great job of where they put they go to the Citadel.
Yeah.
You see Immortan Joe. You see that style. So they kind of interject these storylines. There's even a cool Easter egg where Max is around. So it's a good movie. And they can do this stuff if the people that create it, and I guess maybe, Fury Road and Furiosa are a little bit different because this is an Australian director with his own IP. He can kind of do what he wants to do, But when you look back at all of the movies, not all, I guess I shouldn't say all, but most of the movies that I enjoy and that we enjoy from the 80s, there was a documentary that I watched, and it was a beautiful documentary. There's 3 of them. It's called In Search of Darkness. I don't know if you've ever watched any of them.
Yeah.
In Search of Darkness 1, 2, and 3. All 3 of these are about 3 or 4 hours long, and they are all about 80s horror movies. That's it. And they go, from year to year. They start in 1980, and then they talk about a bunch of movies, and then 81 and 82 and 83. And then all 3 documentaries do the same. You would love it. Lots of insight, lots of movies that we know, but then hidden gems that we don't know. And one of the things that they talk about in that movie is that back then, especially whenever VHS was just getting new and these studios were making their own movies, but they didn't really, there wasn't too many mainstream horror movies back then. They let people just do what they want to do. People could just, and it didn't matter if the idea didn't work. You saw a lot of originality, instead of cookie cutter stuff. And so maybe it didn't work, but you can look because there's so many of those horror movies from the 80s where you're like, this isn't a good movie, but at least that was a wacky, interesting idea.
Wacky, crazy,
yeah. And you don't see a lot lot of that anymore because everything is so curated
by the numbers. Has to play it safe. Has to have this. Producers and Hollywood get so much into it. The studio messes so much with movies to try to fine tune it. They think they're the experts, but right now, I think it's pretty obvious. Even Furiosa didn't do so well in theaters, and I think it's obvious that Hollywood needs to say, "Oh, we need to let the creative team come back and come up with something new because your formula is old and dated and not working."
Yeah, and that's not Furiosa's fault.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's worthy of tons of money, but I'll say this: Top Gun was the poster child for the people will still go to the theater if you give them a reason to go to the theater.
That's exactly right.
And Furiosa is a reason. It's just a different world. It's not as mainstream as Top Gun. But that is a movie that if you like Fury Road, you should absolutely see Furiosa in the theater. I'm thinking about going and seeing it again because there is a scene in the middle of it. It's another one of those tanker like chase scenes that literally is 20, 30 minutes long. And it's some
wonderful
of the stuff,
the whole way through.
Stuff I've never seen before where you're just mesmerized.
Great.
Yeah. So anyway.
There you go. All right, folks. Let us know what your thoughts are. Come up with your own, and we'll see you next time on
Saturday
Morning
Samoflange.